Imagine a world where people took medicines to get cured, but instead they accidentally die. Not because the disease was untreatable, but because the medicines itself contained impurities or contamination. Imagine the kind of chaos it would create. People would stop trusting hospitals, they would stop trusting doctors. So that's why every pharma and biotech company has a department which is non negotiable. So without it, the company cannot operate. So the department is quality control and quality assurance. So here's an interesting question. If QA and QC is so important, why do students think there are very few jobs? The answer is there are plenty of jobs and hiring happens in bulk. But only thing is hiring happens through specialized recruitment portals or recruitment drives where students usually miss out those opportunities. Startups, large pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, everyone needs a QA and QC professional. They don't just hire one or two people, but instead they hire hundreds together because every manufacturing batch needs to be tested. Now let's understand why every company needs QA and QC. So every biotech or pharma company wants to launch a new product. Suppose they have developed a medicine for dengue, and can they start selling immediately? Absolutely not. So before reaching the market, the medicine has to go through clinical research. Clinical research professionals, clinical data management professionals, and CROs, they conduct clinical trials to make sure medicine is safe and effective. So once the clinical trials are successful, the company submits all the data to the government. So this is where regulatory affairs come into the picture, and once the government gives approval, then only the medicine can be manufactured. Now the company has a manufacturing unit. Medicines are produced in large quantities. But here's the biggest challenge. How do you make sure that every batch is safe? This is where QA and QC professionals are required. So let's not confuse the two. Quality assurance focuses on the process. It deals with SOPs, documentation, audits, GMP compliance, and making sure that everything is run by required standards. Quality control is different. So QC is built on testing. It involves sample analysis, raw material testing, finished product testing, and laboratory instruments. So therefore, simply put, QA ensures that process is correct, whereas QC ensures the product is correct. Here's another important question. Why QA and QC is considered fastest employer generators of life science students? Think about it. Can companies sell contaminated medicines? No. So every batch has to be tested before it's given to the patients. Every day, pharma companies manufacture millions of tablets, capsules, injections, and vaccines. So every single batch requires quality check. That's why companies require QA and QC professionals. So the demand never stops. One common mistake freshers make is they think that if I just know lab work, I'll get hired. But unfortunately, that's not enough anymore. Companies require more than just laboratory skills. Today, companies hire a professional who understands documentation, compliance, good manufacturing practices, and data accuracy. Technical knowledge is important, but documentation is equally important. Now, the next question is, can a fresher get directly hired for QA and QC job? The answer is not always. If you don't have an industry exposure, companies usually expect practical training before getting hired. The reality is simple. Companies cannot train every fresher before hiring. They prefer candidates who already are familiar with industry practices. That's why industry oriented training are a big advantage to freshers before recruitment. If you want to build a career in quality control, these are some important skills that you should learn. pH meter, titration, UV visible spectroscopy, HPLC, gas chromatography, Karl-Fisher titration, dissolution testing, sample preparation, calibration, and basic troubleshooting. I'm sure some of it you have already learned in your chemistry lab. For life science, it requires little less, but you can learn all of these in a lab or working in a contractual job. Coming to QA, you must learn good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices, SOPs, writing, BMR, BPR review, deviation, audit readiness, validation basics, documentation control, regulatory guidelines. So the current pharma quality assurance interviews commonly focus on topics like quality assurance rules, GMP, documentation, deviation, and CAPA. If you can crack this, you have got a stable job in the industry. For QC, the scope is huge. For QA, it's a mandate from the government. Without them, the company cannot operate. So this is an evergreen job. So any recession cannot kill your job. As a fresher or as an experienced person in QC, your day-to-day inside job in any pharma or biotech company will involve testing samples, maintaining lab records, calibrating instruments, or sending reports to your superiors. If you're in QA, your responsibilities will be different. You will be checking documents, ensuring SOP compliance, reviewing batch records, supporting audits, and handling deviations. So generally in the interviews, they will not ask you advanced questions. They will ask you questions like what is the difference between QA and QC? What is GMP? What is SOPs? They can also ask what is pH, what is buffer, how do you calculate morality and molality? And finally, they would ask why you interested in QA and QC. So once you crack the interview, you'll usually start as analyst trainee or QA trainee. And then eventually you will become QC analyst or QA executive, depending on the path you choose. Around 2 years of experience, it can lead you to senior executive, and another couple years of experience, you will grow into assistant manager role. And after 6 years of experience, you will move into QA, QC manager level roles, and down the line, 10 years of experience, you will move into quality head or lead level roles. QA, QC is not here as a backup of your job hunt. They are the backbone of every pharmaceutical company. So any medicine you have taken, any vaccines you have received, any diagnostic kit, or any food product or any biotech product that has reached you or your family has undergone through sharp lens of QA and QC professionals. That means they are incredibly important for every pharma and biotech company. So if you want to build a career in QA and QC, start building your industry relevant skills, build your practical knowledge, strengthen your fundamentals, keep growing your technical knowledge. If you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe so that I make much more interesting content. So see you in the next video.